how hard did you have to work in the early days in being noticed in Hollywood, trying to get those first jobs?
Yeah, pretty darn hard. Yeah. I banged down every door I could. You hear a lot of no's. I got used to hearing rejection quite often. And, sometimes it was difficult to get up and step out into the world again and say, I can do this and not give up. But
what were you doing? How were you trying to get people to notice you?
I was stuffing manila envelopes with my headshot and resume and sending them to every agent, every studio, every art school, film school, anybody who was producing, directing, anything. And I did that for quite some time to no avail. And there was one moment where I got a call from a casting director, Mara Casey, and she said, we'd love to see Rami Malek for this role, and we'd like to speak with his agent. I said, speaking. And he said, is he SAG and Screen Actors Guild? Well, no, not yet, but I'm sure we can get him there. And they said, and this is his agent? I said, yeah, yes. And who are you? I said, his agent. What's your name? Rami Malek. And she laughed. She was laughing the whole way through, and she said, all right, kid, listen, when you get an agent, you call me. We'll get you back in. I said, hey, but we're already having this conversation. I got a few laughs out of you. Maybe you could just let me in the door and see what happens. And she took a beat, and she said, all right, can you make it in 20 minutes? And I said, yeah. Where are you? And I just raced over there as quickly as I could. And
what were you doing to pay the bills at the time?
What wasn't I doing? I was catering. I was delivering pizzas. I was working at restaurants. I was a busboy. I was told I made a very inferior cappuccino once and got fired from that. Maybe I did that on purpose. I don't know. Yeah, anything to pay the bills,
But you charm this casting director and you get cast in Gilmore Girls, and that's one of the first real jobs.
That was one of the first real jobs, but then it took... You would think that the next one would come right away, but it was still that hustle of, waiting and waiting, no callbacks, no auditions. So for me, it was quite a slow burn, and I think that helped me develop the strength to know that something would always be coming and to choose wisely. And there were roles where that were offered because of my heritage, playing a terrorist, and that was something I thought I'll be pigeonholed, and that's not the way I want to represent my culture. So. That would be the easy thing to do, is to take those. That would pay the bills to a degree. But I thought, wait, just keep pushing. You can do this.
Was there a point in your career where you made that choice? You played in 24, the Kiefer Sutherland TV show. Ultimately,
I thought I was meticulous. You're more meticulous than anybody.
You played a character who blew himself up in that.
Yeah, I think that was the last one. I said enough is enough there. It was just too divisive, and... it would create an impression of a certain group of people who would be pigeonholed, and I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. I'd rather see people identify with a certain everyman, the struggles of outsiders, outcasts. Everyday human beings who can go on to do extraordinary things. We see them every day, every single day. They're the ones that resonate with me the most.
What makes you choose a certain role at this point? Well, do you have something that guides you?
I got such a great break working with Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks on the Pacific, and they put us through this military boot camp. The audition process was so rigorous. They told us to get down to 6% body fat. And I thought, God, if this is one, just tiny, minuscule percentage of what those men might have felt, it was awe-inspiring to me. And I thought if you could begin to tell stories like that could resonate with so many people. I think there's heroism in so many of the characters I gravitate to, but they also lend themselves to just being ordinary people. I love ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Were there things in the Charlie Heller character that you learned from someone, picked from someone?
I think it's the perseverance and resilience of the human spirit. I can look at my mom and think about her coming to the U.S. and not speaking a word of English and taking 3 buses to get to work, with having a daughter at home and 2 baby boys in her belly as she was getting from job to job to make a living for us. And there's a strength in that and a resilience, and I saw heroism in that. I saw love in that. And what I see with Charlie is when he loses his soulmate, someone who he would do anything for. There is something extraordinary about the power in that, when someone could easily bury their head in the sand.
Why did you want to play that type of character?
I think I gravitate to these characters who are, profoundly alienated, seen as outcasts, different.
Is that because there's something personal for you?
You're going for it, yeah. I don't know who hasn't felt different in their life, who hasn't felt like an outsider. But perhaps, yes, my origin story, for lack of a better word, is as a first-generation American, and we definitely were seen as different to a degree, and fitting in was something I worked hard on and never seemed to perfectly adjust to.
Your parents went to the U.S. in 1978 from Egypt, Coptic Christians. You spoke Arabic at home. Mm-hmm. But it seems you also had a very Southern California side of life, too.
To a degree, yeah. We grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I think for the most part, we truly believed for so many years that that's the only part of Los Angeles that existed. We weren't sheltered so much as I think my parents were trying to protect us from the elements that they perceived as a little bit too liberal, and wanted to create a very safe, structured place for us that perhaps allowed my imagination to flourish in a way.
You were in your room imagining things, playing games?
Yeah, I was coming up with characters alone, and to the point where I thought something very unusual is going on up there, and you have to find a way to utilize that, or it might take over in a negative way somehow.
Was acting a natural jump? How did that happen?
No, my father instilled this idea in myself and my siblings that we came to this country so that you could do something special, to be somebody special. But what he really, I think, wanted me to do was to be a politician. So I went into a debate class, and I wasn't very good at debating, but I had a substitute teacher who came in and said, there's actually this element of class that you could do that's a dramatic interpretation or a humorous interpretation of a play. And he handed me one, and I dug in, and I ended up performing it for him within a week. And he said, "You memorized it?" I said, yeah, it's just something clicked. And he said, "I'd like to enter you into this competition." And soon after, it was the first thing that I invited my parents to come see, and I remember my mom and dad sitting in the audience, and my father being, a stoic Middle Eastern man, never showing any emotion, and I could see a tear slowly drop from his face, and I thought, wow, if I could have that effect on him, what could I do with the rest of the world?
So that was it. That's what triggered the interest in acting.
I think it was the potential to move people, to relate to them, to share something.
You're known for your preparedness. You're known for studying the roles.
I don't think you could play a character like Freddie Mercury without doing copious amounts of homework. Yeah, watching that man over and over was something that I took pure joy in as well. So that's a luxury when you get to invest so much time in someone that means the world to so many people. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're just getting to embrace and imbue yourself with someone's essence over and over. Some could call that research. I called it pure joy.
How was it portraying a real person compared to someone a character you create? Is there something you prefer?
It's an excellent question. I think you have to mix it up. You can't have a career of just biopics, right?
Is there one that you prefer or think you're better at or like more?
No, it depends on the context of this. Well, I mean, doing Oppenheimer with Christopher Nolan, I came in and played a real character. There's an expectation because they lived on this planet. You have to honor them to a degree, in a way that when you're creating a character, there is more of a creative license, I suppose. There were things about Freddie that I could only assume because of the nature of his privacy that was enjoyable but also scary because you wanted to honor him and get it right. And you collect all of the facts in order to allow yourself to possibly tell a story about him that you have tethered yourself to and is hopefully as close as you can be because there is a relationship that possibly you've created through some sort of empathy for that person.
Winning an Oscar obviously opens so many doors, creates so many opportunities. What challenges are there? Does it set expectations that you feel then you've got to meet?
It doesn't, actually. I've never really set any lofty expectations for myself. I wanted to be just a working actor. That's all I aspired to do. I think that's a success in and of itself, to have a stable working life as an actor. So I would hope that it would open doors, but I never had any expectations.
Some of it seems hard to believe, though. I would think that once you win an Oscar, you must think, oh my gosh, I've got to keep doing this at this level.
I guess there's a level of a standard you want to hold yourself to, but that would be compromising because, I mean, you can look at actors who have multiple Oscars, and what are you going to keep searching for the next one or the next one? I mean, how much is good enough? I'm pretty satisfied with what I've accomplished. I feel really humbled by that moment, very proud of that moment. It was extraordinary, and if anything else comes of it that can top that, I would be flabbergasted. But hey, I'm open to it.
In that acceptance speech, you say that you wish your dad could be there. You thank your mom. Your relationship with your parents is clear in that acceptance speech, or it seems to be clear.
Well, I think they sacrificed so much to leave their country to come to the U.S. and just for the opportunity that their kids could flourish. I appreciate that courage, that conviction, that strength, that humility to do something for someone else. I don't think there's anything greater than that.
Do you still get advice from your mom?
Oh yeah, that'll never stop. That's an onslaught of advice.
What does she say?
What does she say? I think the Brits say it very well. Keep calm and carry on.